Hello everyone, welcome to Anime No Me, and thank you for joining us for another One Piece video. Sabo has been through a lot during his journey as a revolutionary. But with the recent events that he has just gone through, this could be some of the most difficult time of his life, as he is witnessing events he would have never believed were ever possible. So in today's video, we're going to talk about the events that have led up to the current moment that Sabo is in, what has happened to Sabo since Luffy last saw him, and what physical state Sabo is currently in. But before we dive into the video, if you're new to the channel or even if you've watched a bunch of our videos, we'd be absolutely honored if you'd leave us a like and even subscribe and maybe leave us a comment letting us know what you thought of the video. It really helps us out and motivates us to make more content. And if you'd like to help out the channel in a bigger way, consider sharing this video or another one of your favorites with a friend. But without further ado, let's get into the video. Following the events in Dressrosa, where Sabo finally reunited with Luffy, and then after eating the animenomi, saved Luffy from Jesus Burgess and Fujitora, he went back to the base of the Revolutionary Army. However, he was followed by Jesus Burgess, so Teach's pirates learned the location of the revolutionaries, which was in Baltico, allowing them to evade and destroy it. But before the invasion could happen, the revolutionaries managed to evacuate the base. This allowed the revolutionaries to get important documents and other items away from it, so Teach only managed to destroy irrelevant things. And this way, the revolutionaries didn't come out at a full disadvantage, where they only lost a few people where they might have been injured. The Revolutionary Army escaped the destruction of Baltico and then moved their base to Memorial Island. And Sabo appears reading a newspaper in which he reads it with a big smile because he saw that there was news of his brother Luffy in it. In this newspaper, there was an article about Luffy's achievements in Totoland, and such as his interruption of the marriage and the conflict that the Straw Hats had with the Big Mom pirates, and even against the Empress herself, Big Mom. And all of this made Sabo very proud of Luffy. After some time passed, all the revolutionaries had learned about the attack that happened in Baltico, so Dragon gathered all his commanders together to talk about the fate of this organization. One of the revolutionary commanders, Lindbergh, contacted Sabo through a transponder snail and informed him that 3 other commanders would be late for Dragon's meeting, so the revolutionaries were going to have to wait until everyone had gathered. We next saw that Lindbergh and the other commanders of the Revolutionary Army, including Morley, Belobedi, and Karasu, had gone to the Leloucha Kingdom to save it from Pinkbeard's pirates, and this mission didn't seem very difficult. After the pirates were quickly defeated, the commanders headed for Memorial Island and met with the revolutionaries about the upcoming declaration of this great battle against the world nobles. While waiting for all of his commanders to arrive, Dragon spoke with Sabo and discussed his plan to declare a major battle against the world nobles during the revelry. Next, all the commanders of the Revolutionary Army, together with Sabo, came up with a strategy to invade Marijois and declare the beginning of this great battle against the world government and all those who would be on their side. After finalizing their invasion plans, Sabo, together with Lindbergh, Morley, and Karasu, infiltrated Marijois. Sabo had disguised himself as one of the guards while riding up the gondola with Steri and the Neptune family. Meanwhile, Lindbergh, Morley, and Karasu stayed underground through Morley's fruit while on the surface. Sabo then managed to find Kuma, who was being used as a mount by a world noble. As Sabo realized that Kuma had been completely enslaved and was just someone who was following the will of the nobles, it caused him to become enraged with what he was seeing, so Sabo in that moment decided to save his companion. Before putting his plan into action, Sabo went back to the other commanders and told them about what the world nobles had been doing to Kuma. So together, they decided to save Kuma at all costs. On the 4th day of the revelry, Sabo and his group managed to rescue Kuma, but 2 admirals, Admirals Fujitora and Ryukugyu, appeared on the spot where they were, and thus provoked a confrontation between the Marines and the revolutionaries. Knowing that they were at a disadvantage against these 2 admirals, and that it was necessary for the mission to be completed, Sabo ordered Lindbergh, Morley, and Karasu to take Kuma to the revolutionaries' base, while he stayed behind to buy time for them to escape. Without questioning Sabo's words, the other revolutionaries managed to flee Marijois with Kuma, leaving Sabo behind to confront the 2 admirals alone. And it was already clear that Sabo would be captured or lose his life during this battle. But there was still something that allowed Sabo to escape. Because there were so many world nobles, and of course the 20 representatives from the important kingdoms in Marijois, the 2 admirals had to limit their power. Unable to use their full potential to prevent any collateral damage to these important people, this limited what they were able to do against Sabo. So through this advantage, Sabo managed to escape from Marijois, apparently unharmed. But before Sabo could really escape the Holy Land, he was framed for something he didn't do. Sabo was accused of taking the life of King Nefertari Cobra, the king of Alabasta Kingdom. But as we already said, Sabo was not responsible for taking the life of this character. It was of course the world government who was responsible. After King Cobra died, the world government decided to frame Sabo for some unknown reason. Probably because he was one of the people responsible for the attack on Marijois, so that the people would believe he was responsible, and it wouldn't be much of a reach. However, the news also claimed that Sabo had lost his life during this confrontation, saying that the admirals had killed him. Another bit of fake news that the world government said to manipulate the masses. But there's another reason that the world government might have had to spin this story. Because before Sabo ended up making his escape from Marijois, and probably before he even managed to make his plan to rescue Kuma, Sabo ended up in the empty throne room inside Pangaea Castle, where he sees that the empty throne was actually occupied by Im-sama. Now, we don't know if Sabo could ever see their face or just the silhouette, but it is confirmed that he did see someone unknown sitting on the throne that is supposed to be empty. During their escape, Sabo ended up being separated from the rest of the commanders and went into hiding in the Lelouch Kingdom, one of the 8 kingdoms that had recently been separated from the world government by inspiration and support from the Revolutionary Army. The inspiration took the form of the false news that Sabo had been responsible for taking King Cobra's life. And after the world learned of this false news, Sabo became much more popular and having worldwide influence, somehow even greater than Dragon may have himself. But this news made the leader of the revolutionaries, Monkey D. Dragon, infuriated by Sabo's attitude. Not because he'd become a symbol of the resistance, but because he had taken the life of King Cobra, something unforgivable, even for the second in command of the revolutionaries. However, when Sabo managed to contact the Revolutionary Army, he was able to clear up the details of what had transpired on Marijois to Dragon. But while they were talking, something unexpected happens to their transponder snails. Due to the fact that they weren't using a more secure white transponder snail to block their signals due to the time constraints, this allowed the Marines to intercept their call, allowing the world government to learn everything they were talking about. It was because of this that the world government was able to inform the Gorosei and Im-sama about all of the secrets Sabo was talking about with the revolutionaries. Information that were extremely important because of this deeply held secret that Sabo had acquired during his mission. Sabo relayed the message to his fellow revolutionaries that it was not he who took the life of King Cobra, so Dragon and the other revolutionaries calmed down to find out that he had been not responsible for this cruel act. After clearing the air about this, Sabo then went on to try and tell them about the important information he had got while he was still in Marijois. However, before he could fully relay the information that he'd learned about the empty throne, the Gorosei cut the line between Sabo and the revolutionaries. And then Im-sama began his plan to take Sabo's life, along with the kingdom that had rebelled against the world government. Im-sama next activates what we think is possibly one of the ancient weapons, possibly being Uranus, a weapon of mass destruction that comes from the sky hidden in the clouds. We next saw this weapon appear above the kingdom, and everyone was there could see this huge structure covering the sky. But before anyone could react, a great rain of energy bolts fell atop them, causing an immense wave of destruction. After this shower of energy ended, we saw that the kingdom had been totally destroyed. No part of the island was left to say that there had ever been a kingdom there. And so the Gorosei told the Marines who were witnessing these events that Lelouch had never existed. Because after all, the Gorosei would want to hide this event that had just happened, because no one could know that the world government has this great a power in their hands, so they needed everyone to forget about this event. One thing that leads us to believe that Sabo may in fact still be alive is that after the destruction of the kingdom of Lelouch, we see that there are several other islands that had surrounded this kingdom when this massive destruction happened. Just all of the citizens on this kingdom were looking up, and unfortunately taken in the process. However, as we saw this big weapon cover the whole kingdom, as everyone was looking up and looking to see what could apparently be Uranus, we see a panel of Sabo looking in a different direction from the other citizens, who showed themselves to be in the kingdom. But for Sabo, instead of looking up, he was looking to the side, which would be confirmation that he was not in fact in Lelouch, but on an island very close where he could see the great destruction that had been taking place. But because his transponder snail had been deactivated, This made it impossible for him to contact anyone or let the revolutionaries know that he had survived. So although this panel may confirm that Sabo could still be alive, without any way to communicate, he may now be looking for a way to get back to the revolutionaries without the world government finding out he's still alive, because he still has this important piece of information that could bring an end to Im-sama's plans and his remaining in hiding. But for now, friends, with all that covered, we'd love to know what you think about it. What do you think that weapon above Lelouch was? Do you think, like us and some others in the community, that it was Uranus, or another weapon we haven't had explained to us yet? Next, do you think Sabo did perish in Lelouch, or do you think he was looking on from a neighboring island? Let us know what you think in the comments below. So as we wrap up our video for the day, I want to thank you all so much for watching the video all the way up to the very end. Make sure you comment on any themes or ideas that you'd like to see in future videos. And also, since you made it this far, give us a like and hit that red subscribe button before you head out to take on the rest of your day. I hope to see you all in the next video, and let's keep sailing this giant sea together. Take care.